Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in this Wednesday afternoon news and politics show. And speaking of politics and policy, we have a returning guest, Dustin Gouker with PlayUSA, to talk a little bit about the national look at sports betting and here in Rhode Island. Dustin, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me again.
Well, appreciate having you back, and just again, introduce yourself to those viewers who might not have seen and explain a little bit about your role with PlayUSA.
So we do a lot of online gambling, sports betting analysis across the United States. Obviously, last year, sports betting has opened up in a lot of states, so we track that and then legislation and everywhere that it's legalized. So track the industry, regulation, and legislation.
So we're still basking in the glow here of another New England Patriots Super Bowl. How was Super Bowl weekend for the sports betting industry?
It was good. This is the first time that Americans could legally bet on the game outside of Nevada. Before, you had to go to the only state where it was actually legal to do so, go to Las Vegas, and that's driven a lot of revenue and a lot of visitation over the years. So now we have, I think it's 8 more states right now that took wagers on the game. There was a pretty big turnout in Nevada, not as big as last year, but it was still about 140 million in wagers placed. And then the second biggest was New Jersey, where it was just under 40 million in wagers placed. So first go around for a lot of other states, smaller numbers in other states, but just it's a kind of a teaser to what lies in the future for sports betting for those states that have legalized it and that will legalize it in the future.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Is Las Vegas feeling the heat, if you will, of people not necessarily having to all gravitate there?
I don't think so. I mean, even though the total number of wagers went down this year, I don't think anybody's thinking that it's less of a destination. Actually, the numbers kind of bear out the opposite, that people are specifically going to Nevada for the Super Bowl and to bet on it and to watch it and things like that. New Jersey, as a percentage of all wagers for the month, it's going to be much smaller than Nevada, so we think it's going to be that state in particular and some others will be a little less event-driven, and I think people will still flock to Nevada and the sports books there in the future. And you guys had some pretty good handle there in Rhode Island, but I think that might have to do with, like you said, the Patriots win.
Yeah, of course, New England is Patriots country, because I want to talk now a little bit more specifically about Rhode Island. Late getting out of the gate, getting sports betting implemented and underway. The effective date ended up being months after the legislation that had enabled it to actually kick off. It started in November, and we've seen numbers that are below what was in the budget for expectations. They'd had 23.5 million budgeted. Now that's looking more like they downgraded that to 11.5. And even the most recent numbers aren't hitting that monthly level. Now, again, this is, month by month. What can we attribute this to? Why is Rhode Island not meeting these expectations so far here with sports betting?
Well, that $23 million number that you cited, I think that was with if they launched pretty quickly. That didn't happen, like you said. I think it was also a little optimistic, no matter what. Obviously, it's just the 2 locations for sports betting in Rhode Island and no mobile betting. So I think I think early days it's going to be you're going to be waiting for the real revenue hit. And I think I know the states already talked about looking at legislation this year to allow online and mobile betting. That would really expand who would bet. Like, obviously, some people will just come into the casinos and go to bet. But if you have remote registration where you can sign up for an app and do something like that, you'll see just way more betting, way more revenue. New Jersey so far in its early days since launch has something like 2/3 of wagering is via mobile. So that's a big deal, and I think Rhode Island would be smart to move that in that direction.
Well, there are currently hearings taking place this week on mobile, and as you just pointed out with New Jersey, again, everyone's on their phones, that is for sure. But again, with that late start with that 23.5 down to 11.5, should elected officials really be asking hard questions about those projections with mobile? Of course, as you said, the potential is there for increased usage, but how much do they need to boil down what that expectation is, given again that what we've seen here falls short so far with just regular in-casino sports betting?
Yeah, anything with sports betting, there's some excitement and it's new, but I think you have to give it some time to mature. The fact that not everybody may know that these casinos have sportsbooks. There's some amount of education that needs to go on, letting the market mature. People are also, there's some people who are used to betting, but this is a new activity for some people who want to bet on the game. So I think the Patriots game and the Super Bowl and all the excitement around that probably helped that effort a little bit. But I think you have to give it a little time. And again, I think if you're not thinking about or working toward legalizing mobile, I think you're going to have disappointing revenue numbers for a while.
Again, all eyes on this new facet, again, mobile sports betting. But let's talk about the regional picture as well. As we know, even with just regular casino gaming, we're seeing the proliferation of opportunities here in New England, up in Massachusetts. And similarly with sports betting, Massachusetts is, again, looking at sports betting now as well. How much should state officials be taking that into account? Again, if you have folks who might have been flocking to, say, Twin River because it's so close to the Massachusetts border, similarly Tiverton, abutting Massachusetts as well. If Massachusetts goes online, and let's talk about those examples with other states that might have abutters as well, should Rhode Island officials be really seriously taking that into account when they're putting forth their projections?
Yeah, I mean, if any of those surrounding states to you guys go live, then I think that definitely is going to hurt you. I think you probably had some amount of drive-in traffic just wanting to get money down on the Pats for sure. So Connecticut also going to really take a hard look at it this year. Massachusetts, I think at last count, had 7 bills, including one backed by Governor Baker. So yeah, if either of those states go live with sports betting, I think it's going to hurt those numbers were when Rhode Island had the market to themselves. If both Massachusetts and Connecticut go live, I think that's something else entirely then. And even New York is looking at sports betting too. They can have it at their upstate casinos. They might look at mobile again this year. So yeah, all of that has to come into the equation when you're looking at the potential revenue that the state can make.
So outside of Rhode Island, with your PlayUSA hat on as well, what are you keeping an eye on in 2019? Is it really that state-by-state, hand-to-hand combat, seeing who's going to be next to look at this revenue opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, we're tracking more than 20 states that have active legislation. We're tracking Pennsylvania, which has retail sports betting only, kind of like Rhode Island does, but is close to launching mobile betting. There's lots of other things. The professional sports leagues want their say. It's a big deal. The NBA, Major League Baseball have been lobbying at the state level for their asks in sports betting. And then the lotteries also. I know the lottery kind of oversees it there. And lotteries are looking to create products and have an online presence. A lot of states will be looking at that as a way to generate revenue via their lottery. So I think you'll see a lot more of that as well in 2019 and moving forward.
What do you think of the prospects of the big leagues who are already cash cows to begin with, really looking to get a piece of that pie? What does that potential look like? And as you said, again, is that on a state-by-state or could it be actually looked at a federal level?
Yeah, there's been a congressional bill introduced. I don't find it terribly likely it's going to get passed in the short term. The bigger ask is going around the states and asking for what they want, which is a lot of different things. They want the most recent ask is they want 0.25% of all wagers to be paid to leagues, either as a royalty or as an integrity fee. It's not something that any state has actually passed or legalized yet, but it appears in a lot of bills. And again, these leagues are high-powered, have a lot of money. They're going to be persuasive in their arguments. So New York is one place where they've been pretty persuasive. If they actually get it in the final bill, we don't know. But they're going to be heavily involved in it, as they should be. They're part of they're part of the sports betting ecosystem because people are betting on their games. So they'll have a say in how it goes down for sure.
So should we be keeping an eye on, say, NBA and NFL lobbyists here in the state as they could potentially be coming with their hands out? Because as you said, they've got the monopolies. The states, it's not in their inherent interest to just cough up over money. So again, is it that the power that they hold? I mean, what's the carrot they're dangling?
Yeah, I mean, in Rhode Island less so because you don't really have any,
you don't have a professional sports team here.
You have an entry point for. So, yeah, I don't know. You've already passed the bill there in Rhode Island, so I don't think they're going to come in and change anything there. I mean, in Boston, they have in Springfield, they have a little bit more pull because they have the franchises, and their owners will probably go and say, hey, listen to what our leagues have to say about this. So I don't think Rhode Island's going to be paying that royalty to anyone to the leagues anytime soon, but it'll be an argument that's had in a lot of states around the country.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to check in with us. We had you last year after the Supreme Court decision, and of course here after Super Bowl weekend, and seeing what's taking place up at the Rhode Island State House as they look at mobile sports betting now in the 2019 General Assembly session. So Dustin Gouker, thank you so much for taking the time to Skype in today. We certainly appreciate it.
Thanks, anytime.
Okay, thanks. We're going to let Dustin go here, and that just about wraps up another day downtown in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Be sure to check in with us tomorrow up at the Rhode Island State House, and of course back in studio with Chelsea Gay. But of course, in the meantime, check out GoLocalProv.com online, find us on Facebook, and have a very good Wednesday evening.